Here we have, this is question B, and you have 7 regions from the electromagnetic spectrum. These, the problem in combined science, that he brings the questions in a way that, like, especially this graph, it's confusing. It's supposed to be like this: radio, microwaves, infrared, visible, and so on. But it's like from right to left, so it feels a bit complicated, but it isn't. On the contrary, it's very good because we can memorize it as jigsaw Weimer. So always memorize it in this way and you will never get lost. And write this way always, especially in these questions in which he say, write where is visible light or ultraviolet. Write them. Or when you need to find an electromagnetic wave that has a lower wavelength than visible light, for example. So you'll write this and then you're going to see or to write or label beside it that as you go from gamma rays to radio waves, the wavelength increase and frequency decrease. Then you'll know that a lower wavelength is going to be ultraviolet. That's it. So here you need the greatest wavelength. We know that the least wavelength is gamma radiation, so the greatest is radio waves. The speed of electromagnetic waves in vacuum, even if it was in air, is the same, nearly the same, 3.0 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. Then we have electromagnetic waves or transverse waves. Sound waves are longitudinal waves. Explain the difference between transverse and longitudinal waves. I prefer to get a point of comparison than write that transverse is blah blah blah, but longitudinal is the opposite, and you mention it, you explain it. Not to write a whole block about transverse, then a whole block about longitudinal. I don't prefer this. And even when you take Edexcel A level, you'll know this. Okay? Here. To explain the difference between transverse and longitudinal, we must imagine what are they? Transverse is like this. Longitudinal is like this. This is longitudinal and this is transverse. As you can see, this is the particle, and the particle vibrates up and down, up and down. However, here you can see that the wave direction is like this, and the particle is here and it vibrates back and forth. So how to write this in form of credible, and put under credible 100 lines, credible explanation. You're going to say that transverse waves have particle motion is perpendicular. As you see, this is the wave direction, so the particle motion is perpendicular to wave direction. Then you're going to write the whole same thing for longitudinal, but the only difference is instead of perpendicular, you're going to say parallel, because it's actually parallel. The wave direction is like this, and the particles move like this, parallel to it, no intersection. Then you can say that transverse consists of crests and troughs. However, longitudinal consists of rarefactions and compressions. This is usually not credited in the marking scheme. However, I prefer to write everything, so like the examiner sees that I left no point without being mentioned. And that's the answer for these questions.